We are heading to the next technical session headed by Dr. Vibha Booth, Assistant Professor, Department of English, JNV University, Jaipur. Welcome, ma'am. Over to you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for that warm welcome. May we have the papers now because since we've started late already. And Ria, are you there?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, so may we have your presentation?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You can start, Andrea.
Oh, yeah, ma'am. Wait, ma'am.
Please stick to a time limit of 5 minutes.
Okay, ma'am. Good morning to good evening to all.
Good evening.
Here I am going. My name is Aniria from Manne Velankani College. I am going to talk about. My paper is about Henry, uh, time travel wife. Identity and Isolation of Henry, a reading in the Time Traveler Wife. Adrian Nifanger is an important writer, a winner in exclusive books Bookie Prize. Time Traveler Wife is a debut novel which was published in 2003. It is a best-selling novel, and this is my paper. I did my paper. Actually, it's talk about protagonist Henry, and this talk about protagonist genetic disorder. He has a genetic disorder which can make him travel to past and present. Henry has, since he himself don't know when he will disappear, so he always worry and never let his guard down. This causes him loosen his connection in society, and his genetic disorder plays important role in life. Because of this, he lacks confidence and very depressed. And there is a lot of traumatic events also happen in his happen because of genetic disorder, his genetic disorder, and Henry isolate himself from everything because his genetic disorder. Since he never participate in social life, his ideas are not accepted by society. Um, Henry was often in present to connect to it. Henry is stuck in time. This causes him not knowing the outside world and what is happening in the society. This makes him isolate and no idea what's going on, and it's regarding him all because of his genetic disorder, which first started in when he was 6, and after his mother died in accident, a car accident. And since Henry often time travel in between past or present, he has no identity. How he have identity when he jumps back and forth of time? He stripped out of identity because of his genetic disorder. But Clara, his wife Clara, who he know ever since because of his time travel, gives him a identity as a husband of Clara. And there is a lot of lines that they talk about his identity crisis. For example, in one time, Henry asks, "Whatever I am, what I am, and what I am I." We might know about that Henry is really wondering whether he is a human or some kind of monster. He himself don't know that. And in another thing, he telling, when I am out there in time, I am inverted, changed into a displaced version of myself. I become a thief, a vagrant, a animal who runs and hides. I startled the old woman, and amazed children. I am trick, an illusion of a high order, so incredible than I am actually true. Because he often go to past and present. Because of this, he lost his identity, and when he go to past, he sometimes don't. Actually, when he go to past, he don't able to take any of them which is in present. Or maybe when he go to present, he also never take anything from allowed to take anything from past. So because of this, when he go there, they are think him as some kind of magic, and think him as some kind of trick. And sometimes he startled old people because he suddenly appearing he there make them startled. And because of this everything, and he goes somewhere in the past which place he don't never know, or what no don't have any knowledge about. This caused him most of the troubles in his life. And not only that, he can't change anything from past. And no matter what, he goes repeatedly in one past one incident, and this caused him a lot of sufferings too. Um, and the old is sufferings too. And when he sufferings too. And
Okay,
he
Andrea, you can sum up your paper, please.
ma'am, what?
Please sum up your paper.
Okay. And because of this uh, he isolates himself due to fear how people regard him as. And if they think he is a disorder or blessing, or sometimes they cause him experimented, they might experiment him. This causes him afraid what will happen. What will happen. And since Henry often time travel between past, and Henry is because he has lot of trouble sleeping, and he often never let his guard down, because sometimes he himself go to pass by just by sleeping. Most are tired because of this problem. His morality also moral problem. There's lot of moral problems too. This we can he has lot of warrant cases like stealing, and lot of he always in uh, the entering, shoplifting, resisting arrest, breaking arrest, trespassing, indecent exposure, robbery, and etc. He always like he don't have any kind of uh, uh, rules for his life. He just want to survive in this society. He thinks he going to past and present. And this caused him lot of problems. He suffered from insomnia because he never goes to any play, never goes to uh, enjoy himself or peacefully sleeping like normal people's. Or always this problem. His problem is not like other people's. It's so different. He can't tell anyone that I am traveling somewhere. Somewhere in the past or something like that. They will think he is just playing with us, or they not take it serious. If he proves that, he might become some kind of experimental tool or some kind of weird person, this caused him some kind of sufferings to him, and he got a lot of mental traumatic and self-centered person who lack confidence, etc. And thank you, ma'am. This is the thing I talk about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrea. May we have the next speaker? Ashlyn L. Ashlyn, are you there? Okay, the next presenter, T. Delma. S. Gopika. S. Gopika.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, may we have your presentation?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. The title of my paper is Magic Realism in Relation to Postcolonialism and Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. Anglo-Indian author Salman Rushdie is one of the leading novelists of the 20th century. His style is often likened to magic realism, which fixes religion, fantasy, and mythology into one composite reality. Rushdie's literary fortunes changed in 1981 when the publication of his second novel, Midnight Children, brought him international fame and acclaim. The story is a comic allegory of Indian history and tells of the 101 children born after India's declaration of independence, each of whom possess a magical power. It won the Booker Prize for Fiction, the English Speaking Union Award, the James Tate Black Memorial Prize, and an Arts Council Writers Award. In 1993 and 2008, it was named the Booker of Bookers, acknowledging it as the best recipient of the Booker Prize for Fiction in the award's history. This paper deals with the literary term magic realism and how it gets applied to the post-colonial work Midnight Children. I have chosen Midnight Children for several reasons. Firstly, the novel is a typical example of a text which incorporates the narrative technique magic realism. Secondly, it is considered as a post-colonial novel containing all aspects of post-colonial literatures. And finally, Salman Rushdie is recognized as one of the most significant and controversial authors of the 20th century literature. Magic realism is a genre of literature that depicts the real world as having an undercurrent of magic or fantasy. Magical realism is a part of the realism genre of fiction. Over the past few decades, magic realism has developed into a truly international literary phenomenon. The Anglo-Indian writer Salman Rushdie stands out among the few other writers who successfully incorporate magic realism in their works. Rushdie is not only the most distinguished post-colonial writers, he is also generally recognized as one of the most important representatives of magic realism outside Latin America. In Midnight's Children, Rushdie mixes and juxtaposes the realistic and the fantastic attempting to comprehend and analyze the layered and complex reality of the socio-political life of the Indian subcontinent. He also attempts to associate the reality of individual life to an all-embracing reality. Rashidi gives us a glimpse of this colonial political system and post-colonial agony by giving the important character of the novel Salim Sinai the magical powers of reading people's minds. Salim Sinai tells the story of his grandfather Adam Aziz by entering into his grandpa's mind. Thus, the experiences of Adam Aziz become that of Salim, and through Salim, we get to experience the same. The double consciousness of the people during the colonial and post colonial era is brought to us through Adam when he attempts to pray when he returns after a span of 5 years in Germany. Adam's pretense here is a reference to his divided self and a feeling of alienation in his homeland. It also reflects on the quest for identity of the people who had to migrate during the colonial era and had lived for a significant time a European lifestyle.
There are many instances in Midnight's Children where Rashidi uses the framework of magic realism. Salim's gift of having an incredible sense of smell, allowing him to determine others' emotions and thoughts, stems from his grandfather Adam, who also had the same large nose and magical gift. Apart from magic realism, Midnight Children also portrays India's transition from British colonial rule to independence and partition of India. In this novel, there is a link between magical realism and post-colonialism. The novel uses the framework of magical realism to explore the problems of post-colonialism. Through the novel, focus on the personal histories of its characters along with its use of humor, the text destabilizes the authority and power of major historical events. By undercutting the power of these historical events, the novel grapples with both the Britain's power over Indians along with the Indians' attempts to reassert their own power through independence and the consequences of this newly acquired independence. The author's intentional use of magic realism helps in bringing out the surreal and unreal dimension of the Indian subcontinent and thereby making it a post colonial work. By synchronizing the national history and the personal history, Rashidi narrates India's colonial past and post colonial present. Rashidi tries to subvert Western and colonial construct of identity and culture by employing specific literary techniques such as fragmentation, plurality, and language along with magical realism. From this perspective, it can be concluded that Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children successfully links magical realism with post-colonialism. So I just finishing my presentation here. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gopika. That was a nice presentation. May we have the next? May we have the next paper?
Thank you, ma'am.
Ashlyn L. T. Delma, are you there? T. Rajeshwari.
Ma'am, Ashlyn is there. Ashlyn? Can you,
Yes, ma'am.
He's not responding.
Can you present your paper, please?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Okay.
I've been calling your name since long, Ashlyn. Yeah, please start with your presentation. Ashlyn?
Yes, ma'am, I'm presenting. Good
Can
evening,
you start
everyone.
with your presentation, please?
My title is Racism and Post-Colonialism in Doris Lessing's The Grass is Singing. Doris Lessing was a British writer. She was one of the greatest poets. She was one of the greatest post-colonial writers. She was awarded Nobel Prize for Literature in 2007. The Grass is Singing was a debuted novel which set on the background of colonized southern Rhodesia in 1940s. The novel examines the relationship between Mary Turner, a white master, and her black servant in southern Rhodesia. The novel is a clear depiction of hatred, frustration, revenge, and humiliation. The novel not only deals with racial politics between whites and black, but also the fear of blacks and their revenge in the post-colonial society. It shows the brilliant exploration of the oppressed and the oppressor. The novel has an autobiographical point of view as Lessing spent his childhood in Rhodesia. Rhodesia became the self-governing British colony in the year 1923. At that period, white people had taken over every power and started to rule black people. The Grass is Singing can be said as the racial novel because racial qualities in this novel was predominant. Racism is nothing but the marginalization or oppression of the people by color. White people become more dominant, and the white characters like Mary was a protagonist who shows the racial power as she was a white lady and her husband was the owner of a farm. She looks the black as slaves, and Mary never had the consciousness of the whites as a human being who are equal to her. Mary is bound to experience such kind of process on her way of seeking freedom. The marginal man doesn't exist a society that always counts in oppression. The whole story changed into a tragedy because of the racial overpowering of Mary towards the blacks. Moses, the black servant, seems to be good to Mary, but Mary's racial quality makes him do such a bad thing to her. The portrayal of Mary Turner as a psychological integrated wife of Dick and Dick as an incompetent husband and the owner of an ill-fated land in southern Africa. The novel shows Mary as strong racist and her attitude towards black, whom she treats as mere slave, and that made her fall prey to her own black servant Moses. Post-colonialism is nothing but the critical academic study of the cultural legacy of colonialism and imperialism, focus on the human consequences of the control and exploitation of colonized people and their land. In the novel Grass is Singing, it is more evident that the colonial period in Africa is set to something like 1890s to 1963. The influences of colonialism among the white seem to be reasons for the Mary's tragic fate. Lessing presents the South African colony to the readers with undistinguished emotions and describe the poor immigrants' difficulty in surviving under colonialism. As a white woman in the colonial society, she is deeply constrained by colonialism and she began to drift and flee from his presence because of her awakening. Mary and Dick never hesitate to make black as a slave. The novel, even characters like Charlie Slater, Mary, Dick has a colonizing power towards the natives. Charlie Slater always been a colonizer who loved to enslave the natives and tries to get Dick's land. Dick and Mary use of the natives to make their life better, and the tragedy of the Mary can be seen as a lesson to the white colonizer. I conclude that the Grass is Singing makes an use of ironical way to the dilemma of the suppressed by the white settlers, and it may surrender the inner fear and constraint of the colonial society in pursuit with the awakening of consciousness of freedom, independence without regarding the color. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashlyn. That was a concise paper and very exemplative. T. Delma is here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
You may start, please.
The title of my paper is Identity and Culture of Post-Colonial Age in Relation with Whiteheath by Sadie Smith. Smith is an English novelist, essayist, and short story writer. She is known for her treatment of race, religion, and cultural identity, and for her novels, eccentric characters, savvy humor, and snappy dialects. She became a sensation in the literary world with the publication of her first novel, Whiteheath, in 2000. The novel Whiteheath focuses on the later lives of two wartime friends, the Bangladeshi Samat Iqbal and the Englishman Archie Jones, and their families in London. The novel is centered on Britain's relationship with immigrants from the British Commonwealth. Sadie Smith draws a portrait of British society on the bank of a millennium. The people in Britain consist of mixed races, cultures, language, and customs. The novel Whiteheath explores the struggles with the issues of identity, otherness, and cultural legacy of three different families, Jonas, Iqbals, and Chalfants, with mixed ethnicities and different cultural backgrounds. Smith touches the problems of identity construction in a post-colonial Britain. Smith draws a different image of London, where the novel takes place, as she portrays diverse characters that have varied races and historical roots and that are mostly migrants from colonized nations. before the Second World War, and also addresses to the problems of characters that are arisen as a result of the dominant local culture which are harm of the character's identity. The feeling otherness and sense of belonging to the perfect place. Her work focuses on immigrants and their children, the second generation, and the difficulties they face in their daily life caused by in-betweeners, as the term is quiet, self-explanatory, and depicts ambiguity on several levels like belonging, ethnicity, or sexual orient, on habits, to name only few. She reveals the historical facts about each character's origin and roots by frequently going back to the different past years all the characters have with their past, no matter if they are born and raised or are immigrants in Britain due to the fact that they originally belong somewhere else. Therefore, they are in search of their original identity, which is suppressed by the local culture of Britain to come out. Samat and Alsana represent the first generations of immigrants in Britain coming from Bengal. Samat is a very religious man, proud of his inheritance. Throughout this book, he is still searching for his roots and frequently looks back to his past. During the Second World War time, Archie and Samat became lifelong friends. These issues of identity firstly appear with the flashback as he feels the inferiority and otherness as a foreign soldier. Over the years in London, he talks with his friends about his country, its habits, and the heroic acts of his great-grandfather Mangal Pandey, who shot the first bullet in the Indian Mutiny of 1857. Samat is afraid of losing his identity and regrets coming to Britain. He is aware that the impact of British society, his cultural tradition is fading away, and himself is also tempted by the values of host society. Samat realizes that he is an immigrant in a harsh society, and he has spent almost all his life searching for identity. He lives in Britain for so many years, but he still feels like a stranger, and also he is not happy. Many people who come to Britain are now facing exactly the same problem. They are afraid that their children will be influenced by radical Islamic groups and will participate in acts of such an attitude. Not only does Millet become a member of radical Islamic groups and will participate in acts of terrorism. It shows the danger of such attitude. Smith addresses the multiplicity of identities and experiences that are found in contemporary British society, taught the inclusions of 3 different modes of family life. Archie Jones marries much younger Clara. She is a Jamaican girl and she has a hybrid daughter Irie. Samad Iqbal marries Alsana. She is a Bangladeshi girl. She is also younger than him and they has twin boys Majid and Millet. In the novel, at last, one of the twin raised up according to the traditional Islamic values, but the other twin brother Majid went to London as an atheist and becomes a radical Islamic supporter in London. Archie's daughter Irie has also similar identity conflicts in her life. This problem is mainly a result of social attitudes and outer forces against post-colonial immigrant families. Sadie Smith deals with many problems were connected with living in a multicultural society and with gap between the first and second generations of immigrants. Identities are present in Whitehead as extremely compatible. In this novel, Smith portrays the feeling of inferiority and otherness which the character poses as a result of the dominance of the colonizers' cultures and the concept of alienations in the post-colonial discourses. Cultural conflicts is the most challenging issues of the contemporary times. This has created differences among the peoples of different races. It has ignited violence among the people of different nations, ethnicities, and races in terms of their cultural values and beliefs. Peoples are intolerant on one another's belief, values, and institutions. In this novel, London is described as a multicultural society in the 20th century. After the colonizations in Britain, and the characters settled in London and have been integrated, but some of them attempt to maintain their belief in religious and cultural values. Majority of the Muslims in London consider the multiculturalism celebrates variety in food and music or clothes. The opinion of multiculturalism, in which it contains numerous societies shoulder to shoulder, and still many peoples do not agree with the idea of multiculturalism. Also, they reject to live with the immigrants in their lands. Culture of minority people, especially in a multicultural society, is not respected and honored by the dominant group. Mostly cultural classes occurred between the Eastern and the Western people, as they have difference of opinion about their systems and traditions. Immigrants have not been treated with respects in another societies, and also they have suffered from clashes. Sadie Smith has presented cultural classes and the impact of multicultural London society on immigrants on her novel White Teeth. This conflict has developed in the lives of the first generations. My immigrants, Samad Iqbal, Alsana, Clara, and their second generation children, Majid Millet and Irie. First generation Bangladeshi immigrant, Samad wants to keep his children culturally integrated with his Bangladeshi cultural tradition. He does not want that they should become spoiled in the new society of London, but Alsana wants to keep her child Majid to follow the tradition of London society. She dislikes her Bangladeshi traditions and customs. Samad Iqbal's children have left their Muslim customs and culture in London society. They have been hybridized by the system of London. His son Millet has become addicted to drugs, smoking and liquor. He has lost his cultural divorce society of London, and later on he has turned religious fanatic and has made a group called Kevin. He wants to kill people who turn against his religions and also anyone who rejects the oneness of God. Western culture has created a turmoil in his life. In the new society, Millet has felt tormented between the two cultures. At the same time, Samad Iqbal's first child Majid turns an atheist. He does not want to follow the Muslim religion. He has rejected commands of God. On the other side, Clara demands from her daughter that she would wear proper clothes, but she follow the system of London society, so that she wears bikini dress. Irie wants to become Nikki Taylor, an American actress. It has created clashes in the mother and daughter relationship. The cultural differences between American-born daughter and her immigrant mother have created cultural conflicts and dilemmas in their relationship. Finally, in the novel, emphasizes the essentiality of approaching other and maybe unfamiliar cultures without prejudice and stereotype thinking, which can only done with an open mind. We can say that the novel focuses on the difficulties and challenges that come with the issues of tolerance, acceptance, and integrations of the cultural others. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. That was a very nice paper. May we have T. Rajeshwari? Are you there? T. Rajeshwari? Shirley, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you may please start.
Yes, ma'am. Is my slide is visible, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm Shirley, MPhil scholar from Anne Velankani College. My paper is entitled with Agony of Untouchables in Arundhati Roy's God of Small Things. And my main intention is to prove that the untouchables, who are termed as Dalit, is always facing the term called agony. Agony generally means the intense pain of in a body or a mind or a struggle that precedes to death. And untouchables are the member of a lower caste group people outside the caste system. And these untouchables also have a other name called Dalit, which means broken or scattered. By this, I can conclude that I can prove that these untouchable people are always broken. They always face the state of agony, and they are always scattered. And this novel, The God of Small Things, is interlinked with the concept of agony and untouchable in it. And Arundhati Roy, just about the author, her full name is Susanna Arundhati Roy. She is an Indian writer, essayist, and activist, and she is best known for her debut novel, The God of Small Things. She is also a political activist involved in human rights and environmental causes. And God of Small Things, it was published in 1997. It is a kind of semi-autobiographical novel, or it can be also considered as the term of Mamaya, where the author's biography, the author's childhood experience is also a major source in this concept of this novel. The major part of the novel is captures the author's childhood experience in IMM. This novel was awarded the Man Booker Prize for the fiction in 1997. Caste system is a major concept of the novel. The caste difference is generally a deadly disease that is eating our society in the present days, and it is also prevailing from the ancient times. This novel deals with the injustice that our protagonist Velita has undergone as an untouchable. The concept of untouchability is a major idea in this novel. Post-colonialism and untouchability in God of Small Things. The concept of untouchability is always under a topic called post-colonialism, and post-colonialism is generally a problem or consequences of the colonized country that related to the political cultural independence or subjugated people. Arundhati Roy presents the miserable plight of an untouchable and the struggle of a woman trying to have a fulfillment in the life of patriarchal society. Velita, who is represented as a god of small things, goes beyond the limit in establishing the norms of society by having an affair with a woman of high class. This mutual love between the high class and the low class is manipulated, and that leads to the tragic death of an untouchable by the touchable boots. Caste system in Kerala is different from other states, where the Kerala Nambudiri Brahmins are formed as a priestly people, on the other hand, Sutras or untouchables are rarely recognized. They are considered the people outside caste system. These untouchables are not even given a topic called caste, and they are always termed outside caste system. The member of high class generally enjoys the term called wealth, whereas the members of the untouchable group always perform a menial job. Belta is from a low class, and he is also asked to work for the upper class people, but he is never allowed to enter their home or even to touch the things they have touched. These high class people need the untouchables to work for them, but they never allow to enter their home or to touch the things they have touched. Religious inequality. Religious inequality is another factor that creates a discrimination among the people. The religious community in this novel is Christianity, and the Syrian Christians are considered to be the people from the higher class, and the Anglican Christians are considered to be the people from the lower class. And it is mentioned that the grandfather of Velita converted his community to a Christianity to get so that they can escape from the act of slavery or they can move to a better position. But it changed everything upside down. These people, when they were converted into Anglican Christianity, they were even more separated from the group. Like they were allotted separate church, separate priest with separate bishop and parish, and they were also neglected for the government jobs, and they were not given any bank loans with low interest. This act was like jumping out of a frying pan into a fire. They were a bit okay when they were in another religion, and as soon as they converted into Anglican Christianity, it is like they have jumped into a fire. Untouchability. The life of untouchable in olden days. It is mentioned in the novel that in the life of untouchable in the olden days was even more pathetic. These paravans, the main caste system mentioned in this novel is paravans. These paravans were expected to crawl backward with a broom, sweeping away their footprints so that the Brahmins or the Syrian Christian would not defile themselves accidentally stepping into the paravans' footprints. And these people don't want to step in the footprints of the paravans also. And it is also mentioned that these paravans are asked to keep a fingers on their lips or close their mouth when they speak, so that the polluted breath of a paravan people or untouchable will not pollute the people whom they are addressing. This is an intolerable act experienced by paravans. Untouchables and their houses. The ancient caste system is an extreme version of social stratification. The untouchables are supposed to reside outside the village so that their physical presence does not pollute the real village. They are not only restricted by space, they are also asked to have an inferior home. They are not supposed to have a home that as the high class people live. They are always supposed to have an inferior home on a quality and devoid of any facilities. And the protagonist Velita is also experiencing or is also in the same kind of home, which is menial in space with single roof. and each corner of a room is allotted for different needs. Untouchables own nothing. Yes, all the poor people or the people who are considered to be untouchable are never allowed to own anything by their own. These untouchables are forced to use the unwanted stuffs of a touchable or a rich people. Likewise, Velita's house also holds the old stuffs of the papachi, the high class man's stuffs like old cloth, old waste paper basket, papachi's old ring boots, and etc. Untouchables or filthy creature. And this is a term where I want to stress more. These untouchables are termed as a filthy creature by the upper class people. When Mamachi comes across the truth that Belita and Amu are in a relationship, her real nature pops out. As a high class woman, she describes Belita and other untouchables as a filthy creature or a filthy coolie, where she quotes, "How could she stand the smell? Haven't you noticed? They have a particular smell. These paravans, the high-class mentality of a Mamachi holds made her file a false complaint against Velita, which leads to the tragic death of a Velita." Communism. Communism is also another important factor in Kerala, where these communist parties always plays a major role in the upliftment of downcast. Velita, being an active member of a communist party, was now not supported by the comrade Pillai when he was in a trouble. When Mamachi filed a false complaint against Velita, he was arrested by the people. And when he went in the help to his higher man, like Comrade Pillai, this man was not ready to help him, where he states, "It is not a party's interest to take up such matters. Individual interest is subordinate to the organization interest. Violating party's discipline means violating party itself." This man don't want to help Velita, as he is an untouchable, and all the high class peoples are the head of this community. Untouchables are helpless. The crime committed by the untouchables are never considered important by any people around. As per the false complaint, the Velita was brutally beaten and killed by the policemen. The struggle faced by the Velita are terrified, where it was quoted, "He was naked, his soiled mundu had been undone. Blood spilled from his skull like a secret. His face was swollen and his head looks like a pumpkin with a monstrous upside-down smile. Police boots stepped back fawn on the rim of the pool of urine spreading from him." These untouchables are never considered as a human with a flesh or blood or a heart and soul. Here I am to conclude that the intercaste inequality is not only about the personal infraction, it is also about a set of rules that limits the lives of the rights of the outcasts and particularly the untouchables. Every action of an untouchable is considered polluted, like untouchable drawing water from a public pool is a crime. Untouchables walking in a common road is a crime. Untouchables eating with other people is also considered to be a crime. By these acts, the basic needs of untouchable is denied, and in some instances, they are never even considered to be a human being. From the instance of the novel, I conclude that the untouchable always comes across the pain of ill treatment, shame, injustice, and etc. In some instances, they are never treated as a human being too. And here I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening me.
Okay, thank you. May we have the next paper, please? Mr. Christopher, are you there? Mr. Christopher, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, madam. I am presenting.
Okay, you may start, please.
Yes. A cool good evening, my dear staffs and resource person. Now I am going to present my presentation. I have titled my paper as Debt Poverty Led Path to Identity Crisis, a reading of Mulkraj Anand's Two Leaves and a Bud. In this paper, Let me introduce myself first. I am J. Sijo Christopher, pursuing Master of Philosophy in Annai Velangani College, Tulayavattam. This is a short biography of the author. Here we can see that Mulkraj Anand was famous for his realistic and sympathetic portrayal of poor. His works are made up of sufferings of India. He portrays the untouchable people. Next, we can see that Anand is a Marg and Arch Quarterly founded. He is a founder of Marg in 1946. He was the first India-based writers in English to gain international readership. Next, we can see a gist of this book. This book deals about the Assam tea planters. They were treated as slaves and they were not given proper rights, etc. It also deals about the double suppression faced by the slaves. The double suppression means the suppression faced by the Europeans. Surely off the mic. Faced by the Europeans as well as the Indians. Here we can see how the tea planters are suffered a lot by physically as well as mentally. Now this is a title justification of two leaves and a bud. Consider a inverted triangle. Let me mark the three sides as ABC. Let the A be the Europeans. European means British soldiers who were controlling the tea plantation in the Assam. B means money lenders who used to give money at a high interest. And C for slaves. In this, we can see the same people are oppressed by double side from Indians as well as Europeans. Let's see the characters of the book. The first character is Ganju, who is the protagonist. The second character is Sajini, Ganju's wife. Next is Leah, daughter of Ganju. Next is Buddhu, son of Ganju. Next is Sadar Bhattu, who is the agent in the Assam tea plantation. Next is Rajigand, who is the British officer in the tea plantation. Introduction. In this introduction, in my paper, we can see that the oppression faced by the people, double oppression. It also shows the socio-economic condition of the tea workers in Assam. In this paper, we can see how debt and property are the major reasons for the migration of the Ganju's families, and they so that their migration it led them as into slaves. And Sajini died due to cholera. There was no proper sanitation facility in the slave camp. Next, Ganju lost his identity while he was trying to save his daughter from getting molested. In the tea plantation, every people were lost their identity. These are my keywords. The first keyword is migration, poverty, search for identity, slave trade, and suppression. Now we are going to see about debt. In this novel, the debt plays a vital role for their migration. Ganju's younger brother buys some money as debt and he was unable to pay with the interest. So the moneylenders took Ganju's home and land from him for instead of debt. Now Ganju and his family members were forced to leave the village. Now they were in search of job. As a head of the family, Ganju is forced to do any job to take care of the family. So he is in search of the job. At this time, he meets Batu, who was the agent in the tea plantation, and Batu promises that he would offer a good job so that he can get large amount of money as salary, and with the savings he can return his home. But Gaddu had a plan that he would sell the entire family to the Assam tea plantation as slaves so that Batu can get some amount as commission. Now, this is the debt. In the slave camp, his wife died due to cholera. Now Ganju need money to do her funeral rites, but he was unable to have any money. In the slave camp, only less amount money was paid. So that Ganju again gets debts from his neighbors and do the final rites. He thinks to live as a debt-free life, but he was unable to live as a debt-free life till the end of the novel. As the same view we can see in our society. In our society, many people used to by debt, and they were unable to pay their debt with interest. So they commit suicide. If the head of the family commits suicide, the wife and children were forced to do in search of job, and the money lenders tortures them. If the head of the family has a female child, etc., the money lenders molest them, abuse them, etc. Same thing we can see in this novel. Next, we can see migration. The debt was the major reason for the migration. Migration is the movement of people, one who move from one area to another in search of job or due to natural calamities, war, etc. Ganju and his family members were forced to leave the village because of the debt. Because of that debt, they lost their land. In the land, they have cultivated many things and they used to sell the excess things. So that with the excess things, selling the excess things, with that money, they led a happy life. Now they lost their land and house in the hand of the money lenders. So they have no way to earn money. So they were facing poverty. So they started migration in search of job, etc. Now Ganju was cheated by Bhattu and he was taken as slaves to the tea plantation. Poverty. Poverty refers to lacking enough resources to provide the necessities of the life. Ganju was in a poverty stage and he was now in search of the job. Now he was taken to the camp in tea plantation, Assam. In the tea plantation in Assam, they were given only 7 annas, daily wages for their entire family. But with that 7 annas, he was unable to eat for a single time because the wages were very low in the camp and the price of the commodity were very high. So they were unable to fill their stomach with the daily wages. Next, search for identity. Identity is the quality, belief, personality, look, or expressions that make up a person. In the tea plantation, people were treated as dogs. In this result, we can see that they have lost their identity. The women were sexually abused by the British soldiers. In the tea plantation, there was no proper house, sanitation facility, etc. Sajini died due to cholera. They were not given proper drinking water, food, etc. We have to use the nature as the toilet. There was no proper toilet facility. If we have money, we can treat the disease. But the Ganji's family had no money. So Sajini, affected by cholera, he was unable to take her to the hospital because he was already in debt. So she died due to cholera. And one day, Ragi Gand was trying to molest her daughter. And Ganju noticed it and Ganju tried to save her daughter from Rajigand. But Rajigand shot Ganju. Rajigand was a British officer and shot Ganju. And Rajigand reported to British that Ganju tried to escape from the camp. So he was shot to death. And a case was started. But the British officials said that no guilty was found on Rajigand. And Rajigand was lived free. So that we can see that Ganju and his entire family lost their identity. Next is slave trade. Slave trade means capturing, selling and buying of enslaved persons. Slavery has existed throughout the world since ancient time. During 1834, tea was started to plant in Assam by the Europeans. And the Europeans planned to, we have to collect the tea. So they appointed lot of Chinese laborers. Chinese laborers are new to India. So that due to weather condition, Indian food style, etc., they are unable to survive. They lost lot of Chinese laborers were died due to many kind of diseases. So that the Europeans lost a large amount of money in their investment. So the British Europeans start to import Indians as slaves so that they no need to pay a large amount. They can give a less amount so that their investment will be rise. So they decided to Indians as slaves. The slaves were tortured in the camp, molested, killed, etc. During 1860, in between 1863 to 1866, 84,950 slaves were imported. Among them, only few number of slaves were able to survive. Others all killed, molested, and killed for various reasons. And now I am eager to conclude my presentation. According to my point of view, the slaves should raise their voice. We have a proverb that unity is strength. When we stand together, we can face the problems in a better manner and we can get a solution. Likewise, in the society also, many people have lot of problems like sexual abuse, harassment, etc. When we fight for that together, we can achieve a better situation and we can free from that. And other point is, according to my point of view, every slaves in the camp had an idea in their mind. The slogan is die if you stay and die if you go. If they try to escape from the camp, they will be shot to death. If they stay in the camp due to poor sanitation facility, they will be die. These are the point of view in this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was a very comprehensive presentation. May we have the next paper, Steffi Jerisha?
Yes, ma'am.
Steffi, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Sijo, can you please mute your mic?
Yes, madam.
Good evening to everyone. My paper is Sex of Haran Silence, a reading of Magesh Dattani's 30 Days in September. The present paper is an attempt to highlight Magesh Dattani's place with the concept of post-colonial approach and development of Indian English drama after independence. Magesh Dattani is a well-known personality in Indian drama in English. The search paper focuses on the colonial taxonomy and traditional value in Indian middle-class family. Dattani indicates present scenario of Indian people and their lifestyle with different themes. He discusses about the gender-related issues, problem of homosexuality, and concept of feminism. The article flashes of post-colonial approach in his lecture place. Tony is an actor, player, and a writer. Born on August 1958 in India. He is a graduate and political. He is a postgraduate marketing after reading Edward Albee, who is afraid of Virginia. Early in he had an interest in writing. His first play, Fight in English, to be awarded the Sahitya Academy Award. He has got Sahitya Academy Award for Book of Plays Finest and others. The play 30 Days in September was first performed at City Theatre, Mumbai on 31st May 2001. It focused on the sensitive issues of within the ensure record sexual harassment reverse development. This paper presents and against Dattani in middle and middle family. He discussed in the he described the protagonist uncle to her mother, her and her of love household work. At the play,
Steffi, you are hardly audible. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Silence.
You are hardly audible. Yeah, can you please check your internet connection?
check your internet connection? Yes, ma'am.
Steffi Jerisha, please keep your mic closer.
Hello?
Steffi Jerisha, please keep your mic closer.
Yes, okay. It is clear? Hello? Hello?
Yes, it's
Ma'am?
clear, though. Yes,
It is
yes, it
clear?
is.
Yes, it's here. Go.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Facts about the play. Magesh Datani personally went to Delhi to visit and speak to 8 insect and child sexual abuse survivors for about a week. He has combined together many real stories to form this play. In this play, Magesh Datani deals with the issues like gender inequality and sexual harassment. In most of the plays, he deals with the issues related to identity, femininity, sexuality, and male-dominated society. His plays like Chara and Dance Like a Man also deals with gender roles. In Bravely Fought the Queen, he deals with the theme of domination and violence of women by their husbands. The role of women in India is in low esteem and their economic condition is depend. So, woman is considered as a weaker sex of the society. When the play opens, Mala is talking to the counselor with a puzzled state of mind. She is the protagonist of the story. The play deals with the insect relationship between Mala and Vinay. Her abuser is an uncle, subconsciously live with her all the time. As a part of her dirty reflections. In the beginning of the play, she hesitates to reveal the name of the real culprit who destroyed her life. Mala is an unlucky child from her childhood days. She comes across many misfortunes which does not let her to spend her childhood happily. Because she is molested by her uncle when she is 7 years old. This incident damaged her natural growth, which deters her from pursuing her love interest beyond the ominous 30-day period and succor her soul every now and then. As Mala, with us under the psychological pressure exerted on her by the abuser, her mother watches it silently, leaving her own pain suffering mutely. Exploring the painful problem, Magesh Datani raises valid concern and structures of world optimism where the wrongs can stand corrected and also restoration of birthless faith is possible. But none of this happened without another man's willingness to help the woman bury their karmic past and find ways of boyfriend becomes the agent of change here. He dares to unmask the evil even at the cost of his love. Deepak is a lover of Mala. He wants to marry, but she refuses his proposal because of the pain she is undergoing from her childhood. Later, she makes up her mind and reveals the truth that she was abused her uncle every day during the summer holidays. In the end, it is revealed that her mother was also molested by him for 10 years. As a result, she surrendered herself to Sri Krishna for help, and that helped by her talking away all her feelings, giving her only silence. Magesh Datani says that betrayal of personal relationship is the worst scorer of human life. Every child needs love and affection from their parents, but Mala gives to betrayal on insight. Sanda's silence against her, doctor molestation, and even against herself symbolizes two things. The first, humiliating Indian morality, and second one is stereotype for women, which present them as object of male gaze. Sanda is a mother of Mala. She lost all her feelings of pain or pleasure. It shocks her so much that she got frozen. Her husband left her saying, I married a frozen woman. She lost all her sensitivity and sensation for love and sex. Sex was neither a thing of joy nor pain for her. She was failure as a wife and as a mother. She could not save herself. Then how could she have saved her child? Nobody could see the pain in her eyes. Suffering was stuck on in her body as she was born female. Later, Mala realized the pain and suffering of her mother as she has
also undergone the same pain of sexual harassment. Vinay is the real culprit of this story. After Mala's father left their life, then they live in poverty. This poverty leads to live under the care of Vinay. Vinay took advantage over the situation. He began to sexually use Santa and her daughter Mala. He is the picture the male chauvinistic society. This made the mother and daughter undergo mental and physical sufferings. Thus, in this play, Magesh Dattani has mocked at the traditional concept of relationship, which explains the purity of relationship between brother and sister, etc., and warns the society of being cautious of relatives like Vinay. In the play, there is also the conflict between tradition and modernity. Santa represents traditional figure of woman who never protest against their exploitation, while on the other hand, Mala is a new woman. She is bold and confident. The play practically highlights how the forced physical relationship is signifying the triumph of masculinity. The suffering of Mala and Santa justify the silence. Is the sexual colonialism is a common fight of all women in all generations, and its breaking is not only a post-logical device to bring out the hidden parent helpless of the sufferer. Here I conclude that play successfully depicts the tragedy of victims of child sexual abuse. They are simply films of advancing complexities that are yet to be faced. His works are slice of life to explore the mixture of sexuality, marginalized sections, and to reflect man's struggle with his inner self confronting with socio-ethical restriction constitute a specific strain in his dramatic act. The play depicts the tragedy of child sexual abuse. Dattani and post-colonial approach are interconnected with the theme of his play. Past of Indian middle class family is artically presented in the form of drama by Magesh Dattani. He has power to present realism based on reality in Indian middle class family. Finally, childhood trauma is the most dangerous thing in the life of child. A child is usually innocent in nature who does not really know how to deal with the problems and difficulties in life. So parents are given to more care in the female children society. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving the wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Steffi. That was a very good paper. And the house is open for discussion now. Any questions? Okay, I believe nobody has to ask a question. Okay, I thank you. Thank you, organizers, for giving me this platform to listen to these wondrous papers. And blessed of luck to all of you. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for systematically organizing the technical session.
Thank you. Thank
Here
you so
we
much.
move on to the next section, that is the end of a webinar on post-colonial studies. I would like to, the organizers of the webinar are Cape Comorin Trust, Lavender Literary Club, International Tamil Development Trust, and Anne Velankani College, Toleyavatam. I would like to thank all the professors who headed all the technical section for past 3 days, and I would also like to congratulate all the paper presenters of 3 days of seminar on post-colonial studies. Now, it's time for the valedictory speech. I invite Mr. Charlie to introduce Reverend Dr. Father John Kulande, correspondent of Anne Velankani College. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening to all. It's my privilege to introduce our beloved correspondent, Reverend Father Dr. E. John Kulante, in this 3 days international virtual conference jointly organized by Anne Velankani College, Cape Comorin Trust, India, Lavender Literary Club, India, and International Tamils Development Trust, India. And our father, he doesn't need any formal introduction as he is well-known priest, a renowned scholar, a singer, and a lyricist, and a distinguished figure in our Anne Velankani College family. He is been highly respected and known for his kind deeds and selfless services for the society. We are all aware of his impeccable behaviors, which have changed the lives of many. Uh, Father, over to you, Father.
Father, please unmute your mic and
Excuse
Father,
me, Father.
Father, please unmute your mic, Father.
Father, please unmute your mic, Father.
Yeah. Hello. Do you hear me
It's
now?
it's
Yes,
audible,
Father.
Father.
Yes,
It's
Father.
audible.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, Father.
Yeah. So I'm very glad to address these learned professors, researchers, and research scholars on this very, very interesting topic, that is post-colonial literature. One day I was thinking, colonialism is not yet over. Now we have a new neo-colonialism that is taking place now. Therefore, for all writers, there is a new topic of neo-colonialism that is going on now everywhere. For example, in Sri Lanka, the Sinhalese coming and colonizing the Tamil areas. So in Tamil Nadu, for example, people from the north, especially from Gujarat, coming and colonizing everywhere in India. Therefore, from the British to Gujaratis, something like that, neo-colonialism is taking place. Anyhow, from some of the talks that I overheard is this post-colonial writings can be a voice against slavery, against injustice, and now against the new colonialism, the neo-colonialism that is now taking place everywhere. Some sort of an invasion that is taking place. So in this context, I find the topic very, very interesting, and I congratulate our Department of English, headed by our Professor Jocelyn and her comrades in teaching profession. And I also congratulate all our visiting or those who presented different papers, and our own research scholars and all the guests. I'm really very much honored to be invited to be present at this valedictory function. Therefore, once again, I congratulate all of you. Also, my dear Dr. Amal and everybody who are present there. So, congratulations to you and organizer of the seminar, our Professor Charlie, and all those who are involved in this. Okay, once again, congratulations to you and God bless you.
Thank you, Father, for your
Yes.
sweet words. And as it is said, just a thank you is a mighty powerful prayer that
Sorry.
says all.
Shall I wait a second, shall I?
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
A very good evening to everybody. It's quite exhilarating to see a number of scholars present here, especially from our correspondent, Reverend Father John Glunde, who has come out with the new thought proposed to the students. There was already there in the literature field, neo-colonialism. No? Likewise, people, when they listen, they learn a lot. But when they listen, they understand. When they listen, they produce. And that is how this conference has, produced number of scholars and a number of, research minds to come out and transcend the reality that has been faced in the current phenomena, which was laid really as a platform to you all, and especially from Anevalangani College, around 120 students have taken part lively, and they were even given in the virtual hall to watch the programs. So well organized by Anavalangani College with the help of the president, the secretary, the correspondent, and all the board members, the bursar, and everyone. And we remember them. And the first day really was, I mean, started with the keynote from by Dr. Mehrunisha Patan, the director of Tarabashing Women's Study Center. She really the post-colonialism is. So many of us don't know, don't recognize what is post-colonialism, and she beautifully presents the value of colonialism and the need of post-colonial activities in society. And the first plenary session was, dealt by Dr. Ushma Batsha. We could see, a number of female scholars coming up. Like even this morning, Dr. Vasugi was there, and she charmed everyone. So, like was Usha, but Shah was, she's from Gujarat and Bhavanagar, and she was, bringing number of scholars who were active in post-colonialism. She even talked about the English language that is merged with the different other linguists, different other local languages. So she was also coming out with some thought that the dialect of people have to be taken into consideration. That's how Usha, but came with a presentation, and 5 sessions of technical presentation was, followed in that particular day. And on 26th of November, the session was started by the HOD of Manavalangani College, Dr. John Jocelyn. She really said what post-colonialism was the need in the society. The need in the society. And her presentation really instigated the students and the research scholars to know more about the post-colonial thinking. And she tickled the brain of everyone to have a common understanding about who were the people who really produced or who really made this post-colonial literature wide open to the world. And in that way, John Jocelyn was rocking that particular day. And followed by Professor Anuna Magnus Chigazi, and he was from Nigeria, presenting talks about the education system of post-colonial structure. A number of questions were posed to him to answer on the formal and the non-formal style of education in different areas, and how these African countries were taking part in the post-colonial environment. And in that way, with some more paper presentations that day ended. And today, 27th of November, the plenary session was started by me, with a common introduction about scholars from different continents and poets, how they contributed to post-colonial literature and its nourishment. And followed by, which was Dr. R. Vasugi from the Department of English, Manamanim Sundarnath University. She really, made the mind to enchant every student and research scholar in the conference, and she did it. And there was a positive feedback from a student telling, we want this particular professor to be called on to our college, and we should be enlightened by her talk. So this is a number of positive comments were there, and she was enlightening everyone with the feministic approach, how women were a part and parcel of this post-colonial literature. And then in the afternoon, we had some paper presentation, and last session was dealt by Safinur Nahar, senior professor from Department of English in Bangladesh. And she was posing how literature is dealt by different scholars from different perspectives. So, number of people have presented how the different approaches were applied on this particular post-colonial studies. So with that, we had the paper presentation, and we are in the final section of valedictory function. Reverend Father John Gullandai enlightened everyone, and here we are to tell you that conferences and learning never stop with the conference. Students should keep learning. The light of intelligence should be spread everywhere through the passion for learning and reading. Unless you read, you can never have the production in English literature. Same way, we come to a conclusion telling these conferences will go on, so that people can have the proper knowledge about the current environment in English literature. Now, here's the time for Dr. John Jocelyn to wind up the session with a word of thanks with all her veneration. Ma'am, you are welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Amallaronius. I take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to the management principal and vice principal for their constant support in the successful completion of this event. And I extend a warm thanks to the collaborators, Cape Comorin Trust, Cape Comorin Publishers, Lavender Literary Club, ITDT for their assistance in this venture. And a special thanks goes to Dr. Amal Aeronimus, my dear friend, and Dr. Regin Silvest for their valuable groundwork on the successful completion of this conference. And I would like to express my gratitude to all the presenters and all the presenters and the esteemed delegates for sharing their ideas on postcolonial studies. And a big thanks to all my dear students for their valuable presence during all the 3 days. And I would like to express my gratitude for the loyal support from my colleagues and the organizing team. Thank you, one and all.